Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Grow Your Strength, week 3. And I have my new sweater on. I feel like in a comfortable blanket, and we're going to have a great class. So here we go. I'll start with some breathing and just assuming whatever position, face down, face up, that you prefer to breathe in. Just lining up the posture and taking some time to think about the movement improvement ahead. Slowing down the breath and thinking about getting it nice and deep into this torso cylinder, not just to the back, but to the sides, to the hips, to the pelvis and privates. As you inhale, everything gently expands, and as you exhale, everything recoils. Try to let go of any tension you might still be holding in your neck and shoulders as you exhale. Just let that release into the floor. And what about the low back and hips? And down into the legs. After your next breath cycle, we'll take it over to hands and knees, setting yourself up for some flexion and extension of the back. Making sure you spread the hands and connect the hands to the floor. Try not to have your knuckles tented or take the weight right on the base of the wrist. So move the weight forward a little bit into the shoulders, and then starting to round the back up. Have some options here to tuck the back toes and gently push the floor away as you let your head hang down and stretch through your whole spine. Let the feet go soft and slowly move the front side of your body down towards the floor. Dropping the chest and pulling the shoulder blades together. As you look up, you can gently pull your hands and knees towards each other. See if that changes what you feel. Taking some time to articulate through your back, slowly moving each vertebrae just a little bit as you envision rounding up again. Tuck the toes and push the hands, knees, and toes away. Let's just go through a couple more of these. Taking some time to now come down to the elbows, lying on your front side. The elbows can go underneath your shoulders. Just take a moment to relax through the upper back. I've noticed the further I sort of sneak my elbows out, like not really far, but just a little bit more for me, I get the sensation of release through my upper back more than if I'm too tight with my elbows. The release seems to feel like it's coming from my low back. So see if you can play with that. This is the Mackenzie position. We're going to roll with this. So you take one knee, bend it, and then lift that knee off and pull the leg around, planting the foot on the floor. And in this position now, you want to make sure you're not collapsed through the shoulder, and You can spread fingers of both hands and even take some time to gently mobilize the neck by looking down at your elbow and up at your fingers, just at your own pace, then rolling back through and switching sides. Get a little stretch through your hip as you plant the foot. Check the shoulder position and mobilize the neck. We'll just keep going with this a few more times. You can refocus on your deep breathing in and out through your nose. That would be good. Starting to warm up the body. Coming out of your next turn, we'll go back to hands and knees, and we'll look at holding a bear position for 3 to 5 breath cycles. Spreading the fingers again, tucking the back toes, and I like to say centering or anchoring the shoulders. Just lift the knees off the floor a few inches and start to return to your breath. Depending on how hard this is for you, you can modify how long you hold it. And take a moment to deload the wrists and give them some turns, give them a little stretch. You can pop the palms up and just use the floor to give you a little stretch in flexion. You can alternate this with a plank hold or go back to bear. And also you can vary the width of your hands and feet. So I'm going to go to a plank with slightly wider feet. Stepping back and activating my hip muscles, pushing the floor away. Again, working on my breath. Taking some time again to rest and reset, and we'll do one more. So your choice of either one more bear or one more high arm plank. Looks great. Nice setup. Coming out of this, we'll go to half kneeling position. And today in half kneeling, just like to take some time to work on the ankles. So as I set my hips up, leveling the hips and making sure my posture feels stacked over my pelvis, rib cage over pelvis. I bring my knee forward over the midfoot. And as you do, you can feel like you're pulling your foot towards you. Try and get some glide in through your ankle. Depending on your ankle mobility, you might be able to be a little closer in without lifting the heel. Try and find the spot though that you can feel like you're getting to your end range without the heel lifting. From here, we'll take the foot out on a slight angle, about 45 degrees. And again, play with the distance of the foot. Just trying to get some good glide, good ankle flexion. A little stretch through the knee as well, which is always healthy. Okay, bringing the foot back in front to a place you feel stable. We'll go through the double shoulder cars. I'm just taking some time to restack my posture, make sure I feel quite aligned. And then slowly spread the fingers and bring the hands up, just sort of tracing. I like to think of this as a movement map where you can get your arms to today. When you reach the overhead position, you reach a sticking point, you've got to rotate your palms backwards. And as you come down, push back nice and slow and bring the hands to the side, palms facing out, thumbs back. Okay, just take a moment here, make sure you haven't lost the posture. Take one hand slowly up the small of the back and then the other hand. Take a breath. See, it would be easy for me to arch my back here, but I want to stay stacked and trying to get my shoulders into internal rotation. You can cross the hands the opposite way. So take one hand and untuck it. And then Even moving the neck here, I like to just get a sense of whether I've gone into a shrug. So don't want to do that. And then rewinding, slowly arms to the sides, push back, keep that breath going and trace the movement map back. After you finish this side, we'll change knees this morning. Again, leveling. Feel stacked, and then now working on bringing the knee over the midfoot. Check that you've got a little stretch going on through the heel, through the calf, depending on where you hold the tension there. That feels good. And then out on the angle. And then bring it back in front. Let's stick with doubles this morning. So we'll go through one more of the two-hand shoulder cars. Nice tall posture, deep breathing. I always like it when I teach and I see students going slower than me, because then that's a reminder that I should slow down a little. It just feels so good to, access what your shoulders will give you. Stay out of the neck, so no shrugging. Reaching that sticking point, rotating the palms down to the sides. As you lace one hand up the small of your back, get a sense of where your fingers are touching on one side and then the other side. Maybe switch the top arm back there. Could try some gentle ear to shoulder. That challenges the balance a little, left and right. And then slowly rewinding, hands to the sides and then pushing back. Really lengthen out those fingers. Really nice. This morning I'm going to take us to a halo, and we'll try the halo from tall kneeling position, which would be on two knees. So you want to take a weight that you can control overhead. And this is a 15-pound kettlebell. So in the tall kneeling position, I have the option of keeping my feet flat or gently tucking my toes. If kneeling doesn't work for you, you could certainly do this from standing. Okay, so knees a little wider. This is going to make you feel nice and solid. And then as you bring the weight around, you want to resist the urge to lean to the side or lean back and lose the connection of your posture. So going around about 3 times, I don't want to demonstrate this with weight, but if I had the weight here and I opened up my rib-hip connection, you can see that that would put some stress on my back. But keeping the hips tucked under and stacked, now I'm working all the muscles through my front core not to open up. So even though this feels quite like a shoulder mobility exercise, there's a lot going on in through the core. And the same principles would apply as you go to the side. You don't want to lean into that side, right? Good. So finishing off at least 3 circles each way. I didn't quite do it with my demo, but got the idea. We'll now go into the knee bends and ankle turns from the lying position. I always say this, but it's one of my favorite parts of the class. And I was doing a little hike on the weekend for my birthday and was so happy that I had good ankle mobility because it was snowing and it was a little treacherous. So I was really thinking to myself, this is paying off. All right, so here I go. I'm aligning my posture. I like to work with my working leg extended out, and I just adjust my back and make sure that feels okay. Knee bend and extend up, pushing the heel to the roof, trying to get some length to the back side of the leg. If you are tighter than me, then you're going to have to back this leg off a little so that you get full opening through the back side of the knee without locking or jamming the kneecap. About 5 of these, and then holding the leg still. Start to isolate the ankle, pointing the toes to the roof, and then pulling the toes to the shin. Yeah, I hiked Joffrey Lakes, which is up past Pemberton, Whistler, Pemberton, and you have to get a day pass to go in there. But I think because of the season and the weather, there was like nobody there practically. They do give 500 passes a day, but like I said, it was pretty barren. Here's the roll of the foot in and out, technically called ankle inversion and eversion. Find your end range, spread the toes, open up the foot, and then try the same move with your toes pointed. Get a nice connection and length to the front side of the ankle. Finishing off with some slow circles, a couple in each direction. And then side 2, line up the posture. Start with the knee bends. Pushing the heel, lengthening the back side of the leg, and return to some deep breathing. After about 5, holding the leg still, opening up those toes, point and flex. Good, rolling the ankle in and out, 2 positions. How does this side feel compared to the other side? Working a little bit more through tighter restricted sides if you can through the week. And then same thing, toes pointed. And into my circles. Finishing off that, we'll come to a sitting position with the hands placed behind you so you can keep your back fairly long, and just working on letting the knees fall to one side and relaxing the legs enough to let them fall into their end range. You can add a turn of the head the opposite way to the knees. Working on your hip rotation, internal and external rotation. Now we'll take it a step further and hold it into one side. This is called the 90-90 position because you're trying to achieve about a 90-degree angle. As you get tall in your torso and pitch your torso forward, you feel a stretch through this front hip, which is in external rotation. And as you pulse forward, you can pulse down between the knee and the foot into the floor. That usually results in an increased stretch response through the hip. Turning the torso towards your foot. Same thing, nice long back and press down. Feel some good stretch response through different angles. The back leg is in internal rotation, and you can work from a sitting up position and press down between the knee and the foot. I tend to always just come down to my elbow because I feel like it just lines up and opens up my hip a bit more. It doesn't look like I'm doing anything, but when I press down to the floor, I feel a little bit more of the muscles through the front side of my hip. I'm pressing in, so my hip's trying to get into internal rotation. Here's the lift of the foot. That actually does bring the whole hip into internal rotation. And if you have your hand right in the crease of your hip there, you can feel what's going on. Something is rotating in, right? Your femur is rotating in. So give a few presses down and a few testing what you can get internally. You can hold it up for a moment. Take a breath cycle and see if you can sneak just a bit more out of that. Good try hands free over to the other side. Settling in to the 90-90 again and pushing down as I rotate my torso into different angles. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I'll feel more tension through one side than the other, and today they feel pretty equal. So I just don't overthink that or try to connect it too much. I just work with where my body's at based on what other activities you have or have not done in some cases. And then work towards balance. Coming down again, I'm pushing gently into the floor, feeling that hip wanting to go in, and then here's the rotation up. A few more presses down, up, holding it up for a breath cycle. Nice. Okay, now we'll go on to hands and knees for our classic hip cars. So taking some time to find your neutral back, you can gently tuck your toes. And here's the controlled articular rotation. That's the acronym for CARS. Slowly bringing the knee off the floor. This is a core exercise. If I'm pushing the floor away, keeping my breath dialed in and going slow enough, this is one circle each way and then switching sides. Just taking some time to go a little slower, sort of hovering your knee around. Keep focused on not dropping the head or collapsing through the shoulders as well. Whew, okay, that was hard. I'm going to shake out my wrists and do the other side. Reset my back, gently tuck the toes, and here I go. If you've gone a little faster than me, then just go ahead and do a second circle around. So similar to the shoulder movement we did, we're tracing where our hips will go. We've given our hips a good stretch. We're going to load this up with some squats and other movements in standing. So really good way to prepare the body for that. Taking it to a frog position. So I take my knees wider. Today I'm going to put both my toes out as I sit my hips back. So for some folks, you might feel a lot of stretch through your ankles as you point your toes out. Maybe one heel is more easily connecting to the floor than the other. Just work with what you've got as you go hips back. Try to keep your back from rounding or overarching. And then take the weight over to the right hip. Just bias the sides and then over to the left hip. What do you feel through the hip, inner thigh? This is really a wonderful way to stretch deep into the hips. It's like a squat in a way, standing. You can bring your feet back to flat and start to come back center with your hips. And now let's explore a little neck mobility. So just turning and looking at something over a shoulder. Be a little curious with your eyes, perhaps look up and over. Not forcing your neck into any move, just working gently through wherever your vision will guide you. A little further back. Coming out of this, now we're going to change things up and go into a single leg bridge. So this is considered a strength exercise. for the hips. In this program, I went right into single leg bridge with 8 per side. If for some reason you get going on this and it doesn't feel right, you can certainly bridge with both feet down. One hand behind my thigh, one hand over my rib cage, adjusting my posture. And as I come up, I'm tightening up my hip muscle, come down, release. Connecting with my base foot. Fully extending my hip up, making sure I don't go too high, don't feel it in my back, but I go high enough that I get full hip extension. So not full hip extension, full hip extension. Higher would be into my back too far. Okay, so be thinking about that. We pair this exercise. Please finish your reps, but we're pairing it with half kneeling hinge and teach the windmill. So one of my favorite things, for some reason, I'm really into windmills lately. So we come back to our half kneeling and taking the front foot wide and pivoting the back foot is the key, because as you come down, you're either going to come down to your hand or to your elbow. And with the windmill, the arm stays overhead the whole time. So if you're learning the move, you can take a ball or just a fist from the up knee side, right? And then you come down to your hinge, and it's like if the back feels okay and you're sitting into your hips and you want to explore down to your elbow, you can. I gently turned my head so I've got my peripheral vision on my overhead hand. I take a breath in, nice deep breath, and come up. And so now I'm anchored into my shoulder. You can see that if I didn't have my front hip open and the back foot pivoted, this would be like really awkward, right? Like I would feel like I'm turning into a pretzel. So you give yourself space and rotate the hips open so that you can sit. So there was a rope pulling my hips that way. I've just got lots of space to move. So that's the windmill. That looks really great, ladies. Okay, and here and up. Okay, 3 to 5 practice on one side and then switch. And the next time I do this, I will use a little weight. So half kneeling, walk the front foot, pivot the back knee so you've got lots of space. Arm from the up knee side, connected through the shoulder. Take a breath. Okay, hand feels all right. Test the waters for the elbow. Yeah, got my eye on the periphery. Take a breath in, up, good. And again, up. Feels really smooth. I feel like once you've got the move with this and you start to use a little bit of load, even just a couple of pounds, you start to feel how much more core driven this is. Okay, let's move back to the bridge. Another 8 single leg bridges, and then we'll do that one more time before we get off the floor. So arm across rib cage, set up my posture, working on this single leg position, tension on, tension off, trying to lift my whole pelvis nice and level. Gift your hips. Sides. And coming to the windmill when you're ready. Don't feel like you have to load it up. Even taking a ball and squeezing a ball overhead is good. Couple, 2-3 pounds. I take my weight. I've got my feet in the right position, pivoted and open. Press my weight up. Take a breath in. And I'm going to go right to my elbow. Nice and controlled down. 3 to 5 per side. It's a pretty beautiful thing, even when guys do it. Okay, so I'm opening the front foot, getting my hips ready, pressing up, nice and anchored in my shoulder. Take a breath in, sit into my hips, another breath. Well done, really good. Okay, so coming to standing next, we're going to go into some balance reaches. And so feel free to grab some water, clear yourself a little space. We'll start the balance reaches with just body weight, reaching one leg back as the arms go forward. I always feel like sharing that balance is a very complex thing. And on any given day, it can be a good balance day or not so good balance day. So just think of it as practice. We'll go about 3 reaches per side. Excuse me. And factors such as the connection of your foot. Try not to lock out your knee, so softness to the knee. Breathing in as you reach will also help to create that intra-abdominal pressure around your torso to stabilize the hips. So as you come back up, you can exhale. Time for a little tea. A second set of balance reaches. Let's go right ahead and grab a weight. So we take the weight in the hands and the weight will go down towards the floor to the knee or below, wherever your hinge will comfortably let you. And you can go again about 3 times per side. The weight might want to pull you into a rounded position, so use your posture. If you got a dumbbell, yeah, you got it. You can hold it like the way you are now, so a dumbbell sort of on the caps. Get tall in your posture, take your breath in. Now you're doing this single leg hinge with load. So some attention to the shoulder blades, and then back up to standing. I'm just going to watch a few and see how you do. Really nice, Shirley. Oh yeah, it's okay. Take your breath, a hinge to where you can find control and come back up. Nice strong inhale. Nice, Heather. With the weight in the hands, just think about the weights going down. The weight doesn't necessarily have to go forward. And even if you're just hinging a little bit, this is still a lot of connection through that single hip. I feel like I've got something there. Oh dear, always on a recorded show. All right, so now next we go to squat and double press up to 8 reps. So week 3 of this program, do you have the weights you used last week? How did your body respond? Find the footprint for your squat. Toes can be straight or turned out. You can play with the width. This is going to be a squat, stop, press, stop. If after a couple reps I felt like this was too easy, I might change my weights up. If I'm aiming for 8 reps and I know like there's just no way, then just do either less reps and put the weight down and finish with body weight, or go with a lighter weight right away. Up to you. Good. Nice even press overhead. We've primed our joints well, right? Done a little work on all the major joints here. Frog rocks, hip cars, shoulder cars, overhead work. So it all comes together now nicely with this move in a loaded position. Next up, calf raises. Do you want to use a small ball and or balance help? Sometimes tipping a roller up or standing closer to a piece of furniture. is helpful. Here's the ball down between my heels. Feet are straight. On the exhale, I'm going to lift the heels, gently squeeze the ball. Because I've got the balance help, I can really get into my toes here and then slowly come back down. Exhale, long connected toes. 6 to 10 of these. If the arches of your feet are going flat and you pronate a lot, squeezing the ball as you come up and trying to turn the soles of your feet in is a really nice way to promote and strengthen the arches of the feet. If you have strong arches or neutral feet, just gently holding the ball and not necessarily doing that turn in would be recommended. I love the control you guys are showing. That's awesome. It's amazing how that one improves with a little practice. Then we take a long stretchy band, external rotation with various positions. So palms are up. I haven't got too much tension on my band. Okay, so be mindful of that. Maybe a little bit more. So I'll come a little closer together. Okay, that works good. And then I'm starting to vary the angles. I would say up to 20. Okay, so you can come a little higher, come a little lower. You can do it on a diagonal. Try to stay out of your neck so you're not feeling like you're driving up into those muscles. You can even hinge over a little bit. Just play again with different positions. Excellent. And then let's run through this set again. So we'll go ahead right to the weighted hinges, taking some time to find your footing, take a breath in, hinge to a place where you can control and come back up. Not to be overthinking this move. It's a high motor task. There's lots going on. So just take your time, breathe in. What do you feel through your foot? I'm trying to keep my shoulders square to the floor. So as I rotate forward, I'm trying not to twist. I'm just keeping the shoulder plane and the hip plane. Good. Okay. At your own pace, finish that off, and we'll go right into the squat and press, up to 8 reps. Going to move up a dumbbell size and see how it feels. Breathing in as you pull yourself down and press. Weights back to the shoulders. Everything feels good. I got this. How about you? When the going gets tough, I've noticed that you count. There's 6. Do more. And I can keep the quality. I can keep the breath. I'm not feeling it in a weird way anywhere. And here we go. Wonderful. Back to the calf raises. Try some without the balance support. Exhaling as I lift the heels. Gentle squeeze of the ball. Taking some time to stay up on the toes if you have a good repetition going on. With balance, staring at something will definitely help fixing your gaze. Whoops, another try. A lot of benefits of having strong feet as we look for that sort of longevity, active aging piece. Oh, I hinged right away, but here we go. So I got the band set up for my external rotation. Can try some different angles. Feeling some work through the back side of my shoulder blades, underneath my armpits. Mind muscle. So think about where you're feeling the tension and try to work different angles. Breathing deep, staying out of the neck. Going to go with the hip hinge or deadlift next. I'm going to stick with the weighted exercises this morning. So we'll do the 3 weighted exercises, and then you can replay the tape for the second set. So with options with the deadlift, I've brought a kettlebell over that I plan to lift from the floor. But if you couldn't get back to reach the handle safely, you might want to elevate the surface. You could hold 2 dumbbells in your hands and hinge with the dumbbells, and then maybe open the palms at the top. Taking some time to have the weight set up between the ankles. You sit your hips back and grab onto the handle, making sure your back feels neutral. I take the slack out of my armpits and a deep breath in, and now I'm lifting, pressing my hips forward, trying to find an upright posture. So if I came up and I went too far back, I would be putting stress on my back, and too far here, I might not be into that nice aligned, stacked ears, shoulders, kind of like hips, knees, ankles. That looks great. If you're new to deadlifting, you just want to make sure that this move feels good and that the lever of your move is your hips. I believe we're very strong in this pattern if we learn how to move our backs and not round or extend our backs under load. With the dumbbells, you can just hinge to where you're comfortable. Knees are just below, and then come up and open the palms and just get a little bit more activation through the shoulder blades. That looks great. Let's go right into the bent over row with a band or weights. So here's the weighted version with 2 dumbbells. I sit myself back into a hinge, and now I'm rowing elbows to the side waist. I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together and releasing as I bring the weights back down to the sides. Sometimes I hear people, oh, I feel this in my back. This is a row between the shoulder blades, so elbows come up, squeeze, down, release. So you should be feeling the work back through here. And if you feel it in your back, take a moment to stand up and then try to refine the position in a bent over row position. Excellent. Think of the movement being driven from the shoulder blades as opposed to the arms. Okay, so you want to pull the elbows up, pull the elbows up. There's not necessarily a lot of forward movement of the hands because I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together. All right, let's finish with the farmer's carry today. Taking a weight that you can walk with safely, forward and back and side to side in your space. Just yesterday, I had a private client who was talking about posture, really wants postural exercises. And we were talking about walking and how when you walk with weight, it does force you to be a bit more upright. So thinking about posture, holding 12 kilograms in one side, I can't walk with bad posture, even if slightly rounded, right? It forces me to be upright. Having the weight in one side also forces me to work on the side that doesn't have the weights because gravity would be pulling me down here. So taking some time to do some steps forward and back and sideways. If you find this, easy, medium, hard, it's too easy, then we've got to explore going a little heavier. Sometimes I find people are a little shy of going heavier in the home environment, and then they have a 50-pound suitcase that they've got to travel with, or they got to haul something off the floor in their crawl space or garage, back of the car. Even groceries can get heavy, right? So start to equate what you're moving with real life examples of weight. 12 kilograms, 25 pounds, that's only half a suitcase, right? So it's important to slowly build up safely in our training environment so that we have what we call capacity and we don't get injured when we do these other activities of life. Injury happens when we tap out our capacity, and that can be any kind of injury. It just always pushed you over the edge of what you can control. Sometimes there's external factors like a slippery floor, or you catch your foot or something like that. But something happens that you injure yourself. That's what we're trying to avoid, so we can continue to get strong. Thank you very much for building a stronger version of yourself with me and my new sweater. Take care. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the class.